Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one. Namo saranto sucedoye alahudi samyao samputoshe. Wu shang shen shen wei miao fa, bai qian wan jie nan zao yu. Wo jin jian wan de shou chi, yuan jie ru lai zhen shi yi. Supreme and wondrous Dharma, subtle and profound, rarely is encountered even in billions of eons. But now we see and hear it and accept it reverently. May we truly understand the Buddha's actual meaning. Venerable Master, Dharma friends, hello again. My name is Hung Shi. Welcome to our sutra lecture today. We're looking into the Flower Garland Sutra, the 10 Stages chapter, and today the topic is generosity and giving. I'm excited to be able to dig into this with everybody today. Let's do our invocation of spiritual presence, which we do to get things going. Here we are. Namo Dhamma Guang Fu Huan Jing Ayen Hai Hui O Ku Sa Namo Dhamma Huan Jing Ayen Hai O Ku Sa I'm happy to be able to share with everybody the close to 90-year-old voice of a British-made Clifford Essex banjo. Vintage instruments have their own chi, for sure. All right. So before we begin, I wanted to express gratitude to all the volunteers who get us moving in our lecture series and keep us on the rails. And we have a new custom here in Australia, new to me, which is sneezing before the lecture. Excuse me. That's not it. That's not the new custom. The custom is to graciously, sincerely, acknowledge that we are on land and we're drinking the water and breathing the air that has been drunk and breathed for thousands and thousands of years before any white European races or Asian races arrived. Here's how it goes. We say, the Kombu Meri people of the Ugambe language group practice their spiritual connections to the land and to all creation in this location for thousands of years. Today, we acknowledge them as the traditional custodians with gratitude that we share this land today, with sorrow for the costs of that sharing, and with hope that we can move to a place of justice and partnership together. We acknowledge their wisdom and their elders, past, present, and emerging. Well done. So, how is everyone? How are you doing? I'm delighted to be here, to be able to share with you some of the Buddha's wisdom captured in a text called the Flower Garland, the Avatamsaka, the Huayanjing. To have this text in English is rare and special. To be able to open it up and skate through it with translations, currently in Mandarin and in Vietnamese. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we had a Spanish translation? Maybe who else wants to hear it? French translation? Oui. C'est la vie. Bien sûr, as if my father's relatives would say, bien sûr. Quebec. Okay. First stage of 10 stages, chapter in the Flower Garland Sutra, talking about the Bodhisattva path, what that's like. Our Bodhisattva we're almost, we're, let's say, if the chapter were 1 to 10, we're at 6 going on to 7. 8 to 10 is boilerplate. It's a part of the text that is repeated almost like a chorus through the rest of the different stages. So from like 5 to 7 in each of the, if we had 1 to 10, 5 to 7 is the real beating heart of each different stage. This is a core curriculum for a Bodhisattva. If this were school, Bodhisattva's a freshman. If it were a 4-year college, he's a freshman. She's a freshman. Freshman. Going towards Buddhahood, which would be graduation and then postgraduate. We're at the part where this is what a Bodhisattva needs to learn as she goes up the curriculum. Inhales, embodies the teaching, and then puts it into practice. We got there with vows. Vows was where that really began. The Bodhisattva made all these amazing vows, and we had a refrain. Remember, vast and great is the Dharma realm, ultimate is empty space. Throughout all future times, to the ends of future eons, without cease, without cease, without cease. That was the vows section. The Bodhisattva just says, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this. I'm going this direction. I'm going according to this compass, and I'm not going to stop. Following that came faith, interestingly. Faith was after the vows. So from the Buddhist point of view, you have to have something to believe in before you say you believe. And the things that the Bodhisattva says he believes in, I'll just say he from now on, but you understand it, it's gender neutral. Men, women, other, all fit. So the Bodhisattva, he says, I know from my heart that I'm going to do these things. And the more I commit to it, the more I believe, because there's the more to believe in. All right, the next thing that happens after the faith is suddenly the Bodhisattva takes a good hard look at us, living beings, and says, oh my goodness, What is the Bodhisattva doing? The Bodhisattva is going to du zhongsheng, hua zhongsheng. He's going to take beings across. He's going to teach beings. That's how he gets to Buddhahood. Then he takes a look at those beings and he goes, Hi, Chihuahua, Oy vey, Yismir, oh my God, Zao Gao, Sacre Bleu, he says. These living beings, they are very hard to teach because, and he lists these things that are wrong with us. Things that living beings believe in that are just wrong. They follow bad teachers with energy. They cling to things that hurt them, like we swallow glass and want more, you know. So he goes through that. He just says, the living beings are just so hard to teach. They're so awful. And then he says, even so, I got to do it. Because if I don't, nobody else will, he says. So the heart of the Bodhisattva opens at that point, and he commits himself, herself, to this practice, to this lifetime of doing whatever it takes to communicate the Dharma that I left out a step. After the faith, he says, wow, the Buddha Dharma is really profound and serene and quiet and tranquil and full of joy, full of freedom. He lists the things that the Dharma brings to him, the Buddha's wisdom. The Buddha has opened up the Bodhisattva's heart, and he looks inside, he says, wow, that's what I want, that's it. And I got to teach because living beings have turned their backs on the Dharma, and we say, 背教, 背觉, 合尘. They turn their backs on awakening and they run towards the dust. We do precisely what is wrong with a vengeance. And so the Bodhisattva says, right, that's it. That's my tribe. That's my community. That's who I'm going to stay with so I can become a Buddha someday after they go first. That's the whole thing. And we've heard that forever. I remember my first class as a freshman in college. Professor Henry Rosemont, teaching Introduction to Buddhism. He said the Buddha's project was awakening from the long dream of Samsara. And he realized the ultimate liberation of nirvana. So we're hearing these words, samsara, nirvana, bondage, liberation. And he said, and yet, the Buddhist community also admits another kind of Buddhist savior who knows enough to enter nirvana but stops before he realizes nirvana and stays right with living beings where they are to help wake them up. And that is called a bodhisattva. And who would do that? Wow. Talk about altruism. Talk about goodness and kindness. That would be a lot. Because what you wake up to when you wake up as a Buddhist is you wake up to, you say, 知苦. You recognize real suffering for what it is. Dissatisfaction, that is dukkha. You see it. You see dukkha, truly. And when you see it, suddenly you see it everywhere. And you see it going back and back and back and back. How many lifetimes have we been through this process of birth, old age, sickness, death, rebirth, old age, sickness, death? And the awakened cultivator, the arhat, the sage, sees her succession of lives in all the different surnames, all the different neighborhoods, all the different jobs they've had, all the different wars they've been through, all the different diseases they've had, all the different children they've given birth to. They see it. It's like mirror after mirror after mirror after mirror after mirror, reflecting. They see their own continuity of samsara, and they go, what a lot of suffering. How awful. I have to go through that with nothing to say about it. Just the wind of my energy patterns blows me to the next womb, and I'm born again. And am I a camel? Am I a kookaburra? Come out of an egg? Do I come out of a pond? Do I come out of a womb? Mammal? Am I a bird? Am I a fish? Etc. Am I a ghost? Yes, the answer is in between. So he sees this and he goes, boy, wouldn't it be good if that stopped? Let's stop that. Can we stop it? Can we just step out of that cycle? Said the prince, you've named my project. And that's called zhiku, the first noble truth. You recognize, yes. It can be done. The thing that pulls us back into that succession of suffering is the second noble truth, which is the cause of the pain, which they say feelings that beckon. It feels good to pursue sensation, to go out after the things that we think are out there, that if I got that, I'd be happy, and we go for it, and the wheel begins, the wheel turns. From the Buddha's later description, the 12 links start to link. Out of ignorance, there's action. When that action is coming out of fullness and stillness and purity into the dust. But that third noble truth is also visible to the cultivator who is now awake, and that's that suffering can't stop. You can stop. There is an end to that endless cycle. And boy, if you take just these, at every step along this process, if you do comparative religion, like me, I was raised in another tradition, and if you compare it, you say, wow, where does that fit with the scheme of a creator, and then a savior, a messiah, and then we, the flock, here on the street, and you go, Suffering can stop. You can step out of being a creature of the Creator. Buddhism is fresh and new and different here. It's uncharted territory, and that's one of the reasons I really love doing comparative religion. You can see Buddhism's maturity, you could say, how it's for grown-ups to be able to say, I take responsibility, I can stop suffering. There is a way. Suffering can end. That statement echoes, is profound. That's a thunderclap in the seminar room where religions meet together. And then the fourth one is, here's how. And so if you do the Eightfold Path, how to end suffering, which was called upon by desire and feeling, that now the Bodhisattva says, yes, I see all that. And mind you, these Four Noble Truths, there's an entire chapter in the Avatamsaka Sutra called the Four Noble Truths. This is not this awareness, this historical journey the Buddha took, the prince took to become the Buddha. That's, Mahayana goes for that. Han Chuan Fo Jiao also affirms this. But then, that's the key, and that was the big awareness for me in my college freshman classroom, hearing this for the first time, was the idea that after waking up like this, the Bodhisattva says, okay, roll the sleeves up, get to work. Let's do zhongshang, let's take living beings across. So exciting to be able to be here with all of you today to say, here's the Bodhisattva's response to that realization. This is his plan. This is how the Bodhisattva intends to do something about that situation, waking living beings up so he himself, she herself, can go on to become a Buddha. So, the conclusion of that, where we are right here, I'm going to read it again. This is from last week, but this really deserves a reprise, another go through. You ready? Okay. 菩萨见诸众生于如是苦惧不得出离，是故即生大悲智慧，复作是念：此诸众生我应救拔，至于究竟安乐之处，是故即生大慈光明智。The Bodhisattva sees all living beings experiencing such suffering, such misery, that they cannot yet escape. And in his heart, greatly compassionate wisdom arises. He reflects in this way: I should rescue and save all these living beings and set them, typo, in the place of ultimate peace and joy. For this reason, he immediately brings forth radiant wisdom of great kindness. So there we are. That's kind of 2 weeks ago, I advertised this portion of the first stage as the real, this is the turning point. This is where the Bodhisattva goes. I could wake up, but I'll wait. I could get free, but I'll go put myself at the end of the line and make sure everybody's through the gate before I go. This is that turning point that so impressed me when I heard it for the first time, to think that there's somebody who is willing to get the short end of the stick. Now, we don't want to make too much of this, that the Bodhisattva is such a loser, because as Master Xuanhua, as our teacher, as Shifu said, he would always balance it. He would say, 自度度他, 自利利他, 自觉觉他. You take yourself across by taking others across. The Chinese is just 4 characters: self, take across others, self, benefit others, self, awaken, enlighten others. That in English we can stitch it together with whatever preposition. So you take others across by taking yourself across, vice versa. By taking others across, you go across. By helping others, you help yourself. By awakening others, you awaken yourself. We could stitch it that way. Now, before before the numbers add up here, all living beings and you, is that like, without naming him, one of my early experiences in Australia, a decade plus ago, I was invited to, I won't even mention the town because people will know who I'm talking about, but there was a Buddhist conference, and I was invited to take part as an American Buddhist monk. And it was my turn. There were lots of Thai monks, Sri Lankan monks, there were Vietnamese monks. I think I may have been the only Chinese tradition Mahayana. And it was my turn to talk, and my topic was the Bodhisattva path. And I have to say, I think it stood out from the other topics because it was the only one talking about the Mahayana tradition. And there was one young bhikshu who was very popular because he was a forward-thinking individual and progressive and very friendly and open. And I gave my talk, and then it was time for Q&A, and he had come in a little late. And I remember I had this image of him. It was in a college amphitheater with the classroom with the rising seats going up high. So standing down on the stage, you were looking at row 7, and there was 20 more rows. He was up at the top, and he came in, and he said loudly, just letting his voice fill the auditorium, he said, "Do you mean to tell us that you actually believe that there's any human being who, faced with the opportunity to enter nirvana, would set it aside and wait and for some airy-fairy living beings? Get real," he said. "Nobody's going to set that aside, and, for what?" Yeah, I do. I do believe that there are people like that. My teacher is one of those people. I've met numerous people who I thought were very unselfish. And he and I got to know each other pretty well later. And he liked to make entrances like that. That was his entrance. And I have to say, among the audience, not everybody was in on the joke. Not everybody went, ha, 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 ha. People said, yeah, we actually do, and we hope so, because we're counting on Guanyin Bodhisattva protecting us. We're counting on Earth Treasury Bodhisattva to live in the hells willingly, voluntarily, until they're empty. We really do admire Manjushri Bodhisattva's incredible wisdom, that he comes back having been a Buddha before, goes through the whole process again willingly, simply to keep the Dharma alive. We're counting on Samantabhadra's practices to guide us all the way to Buddhahood. Yes, we do. We really do believe that there are living beings who will bring forth the radiant wisdom of great kindness simply because they see how sad living beings are, So anyway, I remember that. The loser bodhisattva, So Master Hua would say, 自度度他, 自利利他, 自教教他. By taking others across, we take ourselves across. By helping others out, we help ourselves out. By helping others wake up, we ourselves wake up. Okay, that's our preface for today. Ready for the new text? Here we go. 佛子菩萨摩诃萨随顺如是大悲大慈，以神众心住出地时，与一切物无所吝惜. Just that much? Disciples of the Buddha, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, follows this great compassion and kindness. While he stays in the first stage with thoughts both deep and profound, he practices generosity without stinginess. Okay, now we're going through this again because we want to hear the English. We want to hear the flow, the rhythm, the language, the ideas, true. But this unit of the first stage is so important and so central that I thought it was good to take just a sec, take a breath here. So what? What is it? Giving. Generosity. Students of the Avatamsaka and the Bodhisattva path will know that the paramitas, the 6 paramitas and the 10 paramitas, are one of the inner structures, the framework, kind of like the rebar and the 2x4s of the sutra are the paramitas, these practices of taking across to the other shore that bodhisattvas practice. So the 10 grounds, the 10 stages, and the 10 paramitas match. If you go to the chapter called the 10 practices, match. 10 practices, 10 paramitas. So it's one of the inner structures of the Avatamsaka. And if you know the paramitas, you know something about the 10 stages, how they're built. So that first one, that first perfection, they say, 那个第一波罗蜜 is also the DED, the true D. Right? What's it about? It's about giving. 布施波罗蜜, the perfection of giving, the paramita of giving, the taking of giving and crossing over to the other shore with it. That's the first paramita of giving. It's called in Sanskrit dana paramita. Dana is one of those Buddhist words that's probably going to cross right over into English out of Sanskrit. So at the Berkeley Monastery, every Thursday night, when we're not currently holding a pandemic, the community, the East Bay Insight Meditation community from Spirit Rock, has made their home at the Berkeley Buddhist Monastery for 25 27 years now, 27 years, every night. James Barras and his various surrogates, including myself and people who stepped in after James, have been there Thursday night. And these are lay people who teach the Dharma at a very high level and in a very popular way as well. When my sutra lectures would get 20, 30 people, the Thursday night group would reliably have 90. And most of them were Jewish, and 1/3 of them were psychotherapists. So if you're a Jewish psychotherapist, chances are you're interested in Buddhist meditation. So I got to know many of these folks, as you do over 27 years when they're there every week. And as you come in to the Buddha Hall and go take your seat for the class, there's a basket, and it says Dana basket, right? Dana basket. And that's not Dana, the girl's name, D-O-N-N-A. It's not. It's D-A-N-A. Sanskrit. It's a Sanskrit word, which means what? Giving, generosity. So the Dana Paramita is the giving to reach the other shore, to cross over. So here's the first stage. We're finding out, I said it's from like 5 to 7, if you go from 1 to 10. This is the heart of the first stage, generosity. The Bodhisattva, because he wants to take beings across, we've learned that now, he's moved by them. He sees, wow, they're really voting against their own best interests over and over. I won't go there, but you can see it. He sees, and he's moved. He says, no, don't do that. There they go again. Okay. He is on the first stage, and with deep, profound thoughts, he's going to be generous. He's going to open his heart, open his hands, and take the stuff and hand it over. He's going to give it away. He's going to share it. He's going to do charity. He's going to make offerings. He's going to renounce. All these words that we have for different levels of giving, isn't it? So interesting how the process is the same. This thing goes from me to you, but with the different degrees of intention, it has a very different meaning. So, he practices generosity, 无吝惜, it says, no stinginess. This is there's a word, I'm sorry, try again. There's a phrase in the tradition, they call this 一切诸佛本所修行. This is the fundamental practice cultivated by all Buddhas. So if we want to become Buddhas, we need to start taking this generosity thing seriously. And Sunday morning, Methodist Church, we've had the hymn, we've had the doxology, praise God from whom all blessings flow. We've had the passage from the Hebrew Scriptures. We have had a couple hymns, and the sermon did it come before or after the sermon? Any other Methodists out there, former or present, who can help me? When the pastor does his liturgy, his service, does the offering come before or after the sermon? I forget. So, there is the point where the pastor says, and remember, it is always more blessed to give than to receive, he says. And the organist, and these tall, dignified executive types in their fancy suits, silver hair, white gloves, come from the back to the front. And the pastor blesses the offering plates, and they go to all the pews. Pass the plate comes this way, you reach in your pocket, all the dharmas, how much you'd give, or whether anybody's watching, and if they're watching, you try to give more, and if they're not watching, you write a check, drop your credit card, your black credit card, right, and there it is, ding, pass the plate. And then they take it, and then the usher, these are the ushers I'm describing, and they go down to the back. And then, when they get to the back, they come down, and boom. That's the offering. And that makes an impression, because it's, for a kid watching this, it's like, what are my parents doing? How do they behave? It's real. It's a real thing. Are you going to part with your hard-earned cash for the church? I hope so, because the church depends on those offerings. But it was a big deal. And some people would get a pocket full of cash so they could drop it in the plate and go ching, ching, ching. Everybody would know that they were being generous with their cash. So I wonder, I guess now you do it online, maybe? You drop your modem into the dish. I gave online. Drop your portable modem into the dish instead of your credit card. So generosity in public generosity is open to all of the abuses and the wishes, the desires that arise at that time. Master Hua would talk about this at length. There are all kinds of phrases. Because we were students of Master Hua, he shared with us all the entire body of the Buddhist church, so to speak, i.e., the Sangha and the lay community that supported it. We got the whole cloth. All of the silly things that arise. For example, the wish to appear generous. The wish to be seen as a big donor, a 大护法, which is done insincerely if you do it for others to see. He would say, 善为人见，便不是真善，恶恐人知，便是大恶. Right? Those kind of phrases. 善为人见，非真善。恶恐人知，便是大恶. He said, good done for others to see is not true good. Evil, hidden, fearing others will see, is really big evil, he would say. This kind of phrase. Those teachings were so abundant. They're rich. Because the tradition, anywhere there's a community of people doing things together over thousands of years, you get the good, the bad, and the ugly all mixed in together. So, Shifu would teach us about how to do yin de, how to do hidden virtue. Virtue done completely for the Buddha to know, but not for other people. But then, because you always got the middle way when it was real Dharma, he would say, when you make an offering, put your name on it. Don't, people who go around forcing anonymity is not it either. That's not the way to do it either. For example, now if you just want to throw cash in the cash box, the donation box, you can do it. Nobody's going to stop you. But Master Hua would say, I want to know whose strength is coming so I can transfer merit for them. It's not, the thing itself is not the issue. It's the heart behind it. And if you just don't make me guess who dropped that anonymous offering in there, I want to know so that I can transfer merit for your children, for your parents, for your 9 generations of ancestors, right? So it's like, yes, you don't want to be proud and brag about what a great, generous person you are, and also you don't want to force anonymity. Somehow, yin de, the hidden virtue, is somehow you're proud of your hidden virtue. That's not cultivation. So it's right in the middle, and you think, okay, well, hidden virtue, so I can't tell anybody that I dropped a red envelope and Shifu would catch me doing that and say, that's not it either. That has a huge stink of self, even though there's no name to it. And you can't, what is it? The saying goes, 财法二施等无区别，具足圆满贪波罗蜜。The giving of wealth and the giving of Dharma are equal without any difference. This is how we bring to perfection the dana paramita. These teachings go on and on. I just realized I have this whole education in the appropriate, right way to support a community through generosity. Shifu taught about this all the time. Because he was seeing people's, we don't know how to do it. So, this Bodhisattva with thoughts deep and profound practices generosity without stinginess. Okay, are we ready to look at the details? Because the details, amazing how the sutra tells us what Vajra Treasury Bodhisattva means by that. Here we go. 求佛大智，修行大舍，凡事所有一切能施。所谓财谷仓库，金银摩尼，珍珠琉璃，科贝碧玉，珊瑚等物，珍宝璎珞，延伸之具，象马车乘，奴婢人民，诚意聚落，园林台观，妻妾男女，内外眷属，其余所有珍玩之具，头目手足，血肉骨髓，一切身分，皆无所惜。唯求诸佛广大智慧，十名菩萨住于初地，大舍成就。Amazing, amazing. Because he seeks the Buddha's great wisdom, he cultivates great renunciation. He's able to give away all things whatsoever. That includes such objects as wealth, granaries, gold, silver, mani, pearls, lapis lazuli, shells, jade and coral, jeweled ornamental articles to decorate the body, elephants, horses, chariots and conveyances, servants and citizens, cities, towns and villages, parks, groves, pavilions with vistas, wives, concubines, sons, daughters, followers near and far, and all rare curios whatsoever. He can give up his head, eyes, hands, and feet, his blood, flesh, marrow, and all parts of his body, begrudging none of them, in order to seek the Buddha's great wisdom. One more sentence. 是名菩萨住于初地，大舍成就. This is called accomplishing great renunciation by a bodhisattva who abides on the first stage. A 2,500-year-old text reaching out into 2021 and pinching us, saying, first of all, recognize the cultural and the cultural environment, the ecosystem here. This is a time when a ruler would have elephants, horses, chariots, and conveyances. We have SUVs, minivans, EVs, and what else? E-bikes. Things that people travel in that we could give up. So this is culturally positioned at a certain time, but it translates immediately. Just bring it forward. Same thing. Where do you keep your gold, silver, mani, pearls, lapis lazuli, shells, jade, and coral? My mom had a jewelry box. Oh my goodness. I remember that was, as a Scorpio child, I was very interested in secrets and wanted to know everybody's secrets. And my poor dad, he couldn't stop me from investigating everything that he had, looking at my dad's books that he read I would sneak them during the day and read them and then put them back on the shelf. My dad had a Ruger 22 pistol that he oiled and field stripped and then reassembled, and I knew everything about that. I knew where the ammunition was. Everything, my dad's shoes, I just inhaled it as a kid, wanting to find out how to become a grown-up, how to be strong, how to be a man. Those are my issues as a kid. I wanted to know that stuff. So my dad was transparent to me. I just really, really absorbed everything about him. But my mom's jewelry box was off limits. No, don't go there. And it was kind of she valued her pearls that she only wore on certain occasions. They were special and they meant a great deal to her, and I absolutely respected that. That was not for me to go mess around with my dad's stuff, and so that was that was a place on her dresser in front of the mirror. That was the jewelry box. It was a very nice jewelry box with lids you lifted up and some shelves you pulled out. And she had her own my grandmother's brooch that was from the 1920, and she had rings and things from her girlhood, when she was a high school girl, and things that were pendants and chains and things. So that was my mom's gold, silver, mani, pearls, lapis lazuli, shells, great jade, and coral. And I recognized that things didn't have equal value. Some things were more valuable than others. One thing that my mother owned that I witnessed was her piano. At one point, I think I was 12 years old. So this was 1960. Let's see, no, 50, 1959, 1961. My dad got my mother for her birthday a Baldwin upright piano. And my mother cried, and we're Scots-Irish heritage. You don't cry much out of Canada, and just that you're that's very nice. Oh, that's lovely. Yes, but you don't show emotion. My mother showed emotion. She giving my dad's gift of this piano was just, and she was she did play. She could read music and she played. She was not a real pianist, but she could play piano and had the music, and would occasionally, when she was really moved or needed time to think, she would play it. But she valued that piano above many things, and you could just, you could tell you don't mess with that gift. That gift of music from my father to her was so important to her. And so, by sharing this, what I'm saying is people have things we value, we cherish. And here's our Bodhisattva who says, yes, he is a person. Bodhisattvas are not superheroes at the start. They are human beings who, because of what they see now, coming alive in themselves, in their own mind, they have already let go. He cultivates great renunciation. What does it mean to say 行大舍? The ability to look at material things and recognize where they come from, how long they're going to be around, and where they go, and also recognizing in him or herself the temporariness, the ku, kong, wu chang, wu wo. The Bodhisattva looks now through wisdom eyes and sees that absolutely everything whatsoever in the entire world is cool, not satisfying, doesn't last, doesn't hit the spot. Kong, falls apart. Wu Chang, doesn't last. And Wu Wo has no inherent self in it. These are keys to the Buddha's wisdom. They're solvents, like Mr. Clean. If you want to see solvents, go to your kitchen sink, open the cupboard underneath. Chances are you've got some floor cleaner. Chances are you've got some bleach. Chances are you've got some maybe silver polish or something. Those things are solvents. For the right chemical compounds, they cut through other stuff. Well, the Buddha gave us 4, sometimes they count 3, solvents that dissolve every matter, everything, every object in the world, including invisible objects like feelings, like emotions, like ideas. What is it? He says everything that comes together based on other stuff comes apart. Show me something that doesn't. And the answer is empty space doesn't come apart. Nirvana, they say, doesn't come apart because it's the absence of everything. So everything else comes apart. Even the stuff I care about the most. My mother's piano is now in some landfill, probably, you know. The feelings that it generated, I still recall so clearly. But everything doesn't belong, doesn't have any basic identity, you know. I mean, high tech gives us, I keep holding this thing up. This is a portable modem. This is a pocket modem. You can fire it up and it'll get you online. But of all the complicated circuitry in here, there's a silicon chip. It's got this, I don't know, what's the material that the actual current runs around? Molybdenum. On a piece of on a silicon chip, there's wire. What's the wire made of? Copper. Okay, copper and the roads that the electrons run, and all of that nifty stuff, and then the ones and zeros in the code, so that when I press the button on, boop, 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 and it puts me online, right? That's sophisticated. That's amazing. It's going to be garbage. The plastic will probably be here forever, but it recycles. It goes back to what it was made from, right in front of our eyes. Right? And this thing, this device, the human body, does the same. It decays faster than the modem will. So we understand that. Why attach? Why cling to it? Why be unable to give it away? How much time do you have? I'll tell you the story. Why? Because I care about these things. I love these things. I want these things. Or I hate these things. I can't stand these things. I'm fed up with these things, and they won't go away. Well, yes, they will. The Buddha gave us these solvents to say, right, everything, from the sophisticated technology of the little modem to my mood in my mind is transient. It's moving on. So why not let it go? Well, because honestly, I'm attached. That's why. Right? Some objects have a longer lifespan than others. A British banjo made in the 20s in England. Still singing. All right. That device has got a lot of lifespan. But my goodness, we are now in lotus season here at the Gold Coast, Dharma Realm. I got one on my desktop. Did you all see my desktop? There it is. That's actually not a lotus, that's a lily. Lilies have a longer lifespan. Lotuses just come up for a couple months. But these lotuses are about, 2 days, 2 or 3 days from from the bud is there for a week, and then open, drops. Currently, we had a big rainstorm today, so they go away sooner. We had a windstorm, sorry. So in the wind, you can just see the impermanence. Ku, kong, wu chang, wu wo. And the suffering part, that's one of the Buddha's real contributions. He says, as much as we care about these things, that's how ku, how dukkha, how unsatisfying they are. And it's not the object's fault that they are ku, kong. It's what I project onto those objects that then has nothing to cling to when the object changes and goes away. And dissatisfaction is the result of that. Now, when you take one more step, as the meditator does, and says, not only do those things outside bear the four attributes of being unsatisfying, empty, impermanent, and not self, furthermore, the meditator realizes me, the person interacting with these objects, also. The eyes that I see them with, the ears that I listen to them with, the hands that reach out to touch them, also will go through those, can be analyzed from the Buddha's wisdom into those qualities. Ku, kong, wu chang, wu wo, right? So it's like, wow. Can you stand it? That's the fun part. I know folks who get to this part of the Dharma and go, let me see, what about the compassion? Let's go back to the giving part. I like the, Amitabha. Don't give me that wisdom stuff. I can't stand it. That's just scary. So my colleague, Marty Verhoeven, former Bhikshu Hung Chao, talks about the text. It's not actually a Buddhist text, but it's a cultivation text that crosses right over. It's called the Qing Jing Jing, the classic of purity and stillness. It's a Taoist Buddhist cultivation text that also is a solvent, you could say, and just tears apart our attachments. And Marty says that when we translated the Qing Jing Jing, classic of purity and stillness, and the first time he read it with concentration, he says he had a visceral reaction. He got up and walked away. It scared his bugs so much. The bugs meaning the living beings in his nature that clung to existence, recognized in the Qing Jing Jing that there is truth here that is very harmful to my continued existence. To accept the Qing Jing Jing, you have to let go, because it dissolves us back to the emptiness at the core of it all. And of course, Prajna Paramita, the great gift of Nagarjuna Bodhisattva and the middle way, the Zhong Lun, the Zhong Dao, brings us right back. It says, yes, it is empty, but it's also existent. But in the process, that emptying out is scary. Marty was scared. I don't want to, I think I forget exactly what it was, but I think he dove into chocolate cake at that point. There was something that his reaction forced him back into existence with a vengeance. I'm not empty. I'm not impermanent. So yeah, Om Nam Nam as a response to Prajna Paramita. Yeah, boy oh boy. So here's our Bodhisattva. He says, I can give it up because I see past the things and their dissolution. I see past the things and the emptiness of no things. I see past it. I've seen the Buddha's wisdom. I know where I'm going. I'm going in that direction. I made these vows. I believe the Buddha Dharma is deep and profound, and I understand that living beings are suffering like crazy in the dark, and we're clinging to stuff that will not pay off. The things we cling to do not deliver happiness or salvation. They are unreliable. He sees that. Now this gets expressed in the third stage. We have to go through the second stage, and then when we get to the third stage, this is what the Bodhisattva sees. He really just understands to the ultimate point how these things don't pay off. They don't satisfy. Nothing in the world is reliable except the Buddha's wisdom, which is not a thing, but it's a principle that underlies all things. And it allows us to set up our relationship with the world around us and the world inside us that is unmoving. They call it the unsurpassed, great, profound, subtle, wonderful Dharma, because it doesn't go away. It's here in the past, it's here in the present, it will be here in the future, and it's dependable, right? So in the third stage, we're in the first stage. In the third stage, the Bodhisattva really goes there. Yeah. So how does the giving in the Dharma shake down? And this is good to get the classic formulas. There is giving of a renunciation. We're talking about letting go. Shi, it's called. This ability to let go. There's内财 and 外财. There's external wealth and internal wealth. This comes in. This is the way they pointed out. So the stuff, the elephants, horses, chariots, conveyances, servants and citizens. Notice who has servants, who has citizens, who has cities, who has parks, who has elephants and armies. Royalty does. Kings do. The ruling class. So the sutra is giving us the perspective, number one, of somebody who's got something to give up. If this was, Mr. Bhatta, the farmer, out there in his rice paddy, he's got something to give up, but it's not as dramatic. The principle is the same. But for the king, for the royalty, for the ruling class, for the kshatriyas, of which the Buddha was one, they got stuff to give up. Palaces, bodyguards. Here it specifies, notice the cultural indicator, wives, concubines, right? So it's assuming in royalty, this is in a cultural moment in India when kings had, first of all, they were extended families. And for a concubine, for there to be a concubine, the backstory of a concubine, what would a concubine be? A second, third, fourth, fifth wife. If the king was a male, and there were queens, but these are social structures there are social structures in India where women were in charge. Matriarchal societies. In India, the Aryan society was matriarchal. So when this sutra was spoken, this was the way society was made. All right, so a concubine, the backstory of a concubine was that chances are her entire family and generations and the extended family were all thrilled, delighted, so pleased that she had made her way into the palace and had the potential to deliver a male child. If she could, from her time with the king, that family would suddenly be propelled into royalty. So when we see concubine, we don't want to snicker and think, oh, how corrupt. To get to be a concubine as a young woman, depending on the circumstances, sometimes they were sold, sometimes it was downright evil, slavery. But for the king to take as a second, third, or fourth wife a young woman her life could be quite wonderful, and she could elevate her whole family. So we don't want to assume that we need to look through 21st century standards and critique the society and the mores as expressed in the sutra as somehow inferior, right? We have to look deeply, look into the reality of the human beings involved. And from our point of view now, concubines, who's got concubines? Isn't that illegal? Wouldn't that be called, sexual harassment or various, the Church of Latter-day Saints in parts of Utah in the U.S. Still have multiple marriages. It's, according to the Mormons, it is illegal. But there are, not everybody listens to the central office, to the administration. So this is not so far away. This is our human history. And we can translate it and make sense of it and just say the Bodhisattva is willing to let go of his most beloved relationships, as who did? The Buddha himself. The Buddha himself. And the sutra gives us this to say there's nothing, love or money, he is not willing to consider unimportant compared to ending samsara. That's the point. We're now in Sagittarius in terms of the season of the year. We just came out of Scorpio, and while we were there, I mentioned Rita Semmel, our much beloved centennial. What's 100 years old? What do we call them? Not a centennial, a centenary? No. Rita just had her 100th birthday. And I remember we had a meeting of the Interfaith Center at the Presidio. Once a month I would drive across the Bay Bridge over to the far western extension of San Francisco and the United States, big military base called the Presidio. We would go down to the Interfaith Chapel, and that Interfaith Chapel from the 30s, from just after the First World War, was the last stop for any military person coming through Northern California on their way to wars in the world, in Asia particularly. They would go to the chapel. That was the home of the Interfaith Center. And we would meet once a month. And I remember one day I came down, and Rita was the chairperson for years. She said, "Hung Sher, boy, do I have a problem for you," she said. And I'm like, well, Rita is the godmother of interfaith in San Francisco. And she said, "I was reading about Buddhism. Now, the founder of your religion was a deadbeat dad. He walked out on his pregnant wife. Explain yourself." Rita, don't blame me. So she was right. And she was, Rita has deep wisdom, and she's been around the block. But part of it was a test to see what I would say, but also she was applying, a 20th century and then 21st century critique to the Buddha's story. And it put me exactly to this place where I'm saying, the idea is, and we don't want to paint Prince or the Bodhisattva in the actual Siddhāttha who became Shakyamuni Buddha, that prince. We don't want to paint him as a heartless person who's running out on his responsibilities. It's not that he didn't love his wife. It's not that he didn't crave a son or a daughter, a family. He did. He was normal. But in his heart, he saw that suffering can end. He has ended suffering for himself. This is the first stage of the 10 stages. This Bodhisattva is on the stage of happiness. His happiness arises from his entry into the Buddha's wisdom. And he knows it can end for others. He knows how to end the suffering for others because he's ended his own suffering. With that in mind, he says, for me to stay home, safe, as a good hubby, as a good spouse, as a good ruler, as a brother, as a son, that's all good. He is not a misanthrope. He's not a sociopath throwing stuff away that everybody else wants. He's not weird. He has found something more valuable. And he knows that with effort, he can bring this gift back to his wife, his future child, his parents, his citizens, etc. Right? That's important to say. There is a promise here of liberation from lifetimes of misery and suffering. Suppose he didn't. Suppose he stayed home. And what happens? The husbands die first, mostly. Mostly there's lots and lots of lonely widows. Rita herself, her beloved husband Max died first, and she was widowed. And so I made these points gently, and I said, but look what he did. He came back, and his wife became a nun and got liberated. His son became a monk and got liberated. He was a pallbearer for his father's funeral. He didn't stay away for long. He was away for 6 years. Then he came back, and he was a son, husband, father plus, value added son, husband, father, right? Okay, so that's the wide side. Then there's the nei side, the internal wealth. Look what he can give up. Hands, eyes, feet, blood, flesh, marrow, parts of his body. In order to seek the Buddha's wisdom, he can do these things. He can let them go. Say, if I have to get rid of those, let go of those things, just open my hand and let them go. In order to seek the Buddha's wisdom, I can. I will do that. I'll let that go. Poof. Shifu, when he would get to these places, he would talk about among the Baijia in China, the 100 philosophers, there was the one who said, how does it go? There's a phrase that said, 若拔一秒而救世界而不为. What was that? How do you say it? 不. Okay. If this is one of the philosophers, the historical philosophers of China, was radically stingy, radically selfish, and it said if he could save the world by pulling out a single hair of his head, he wouldn't do it. So that's radical stinginess. And Shifu would say, that's not our Bodhisattva. But where are we? And he would always say, where are we? Can we really let go of things? And when it comes to giving in the Dharma, the classical formulas, the code, the Buddhist code says 3 kinds of giving. Giving of wealth, giving of courage, giving of Dharma. There are 3 kinds of gifts. Cai, he would say, Shifu would say, cai si, fa si, wei si. Si instead of shi, 2 ways of saying the same word. 3 kinds of giving. You can give things, and that's what we heard, the internal things and the external things. Bodhisattva can let them go in search of the Buddha's wisdom. There's the giving of courage. Oh, what a gift. What a gift. In a time of COVID. So you think, Janice Ian doing the laundry. better times will come, better times will come. When this world learns to live as one, oh, better times will come. She was doing a laundry. That song came to her. She said, that's a good song. I want everybody to be able to sing this song. She released it, gave it away to everybody in the time of COVID. That was in the first wave when things were very dark and scary. And as a result, over hundreds of people have taken the song, recorded it themselves, made their own version, and sent the video to Janice. Go to bettertimes.com and you'll find all those wonderful songs there. So that's the kind of giving of courage where when you sing that song, you feel better. Better times will come. Yeah. Though we live each day as our last with that attitude. If I die today, I don't regret. Knowing as we live each day as our last, we will dance, we will sing in that never-ending spring. Oh, better times will come. So the giving of courage, what a priceless gift. If you've ever been given the gift of courage, I went through a very, very difficult time for a year at City of 10,000 Buddhas, trying to reconcile the fact that my pilgrimage had failed, right? Failed. Samantabhadra didn't rub the crown on my head. I made it through with I relied on two things. One was apple trees. City of 10,000 Buddhas has numerous apple trees. It's a tree crop. Altitude is a high valley, the Ukiah Valley. So it grows great tree crops like pears and currently grapes is the Cinderella crop. But for a while it was apples. And the Mendocino Hospital had apples. So we have all these apple trees, and I took care of the apple trees. I became a silviculturist. I knew how to prune, knew how to fertilize the drip line and things. And the other thing was one particular monk, who is currently, he's passed away. He's no longer with us, but he was so kind. And when I was out there on the edge of things, he would come and talk and just sit there and ask me questions, and then listen to my blah, 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 blah. And never forget the kindness of that monk. He had a real gift for healing and at a psychological place. Very kind of him. He took his time to, when other people wouldn't, he was come and sit, say, okay. And that giving of courage, I'll never forget. That was quite a gift. Then the giving of Dharma, the Buddha always says, is the best one, because if we hear it, get it, wake up, we leave suffering behind and can take others across as well. What a gift. With that in mind, I'm going to share something marvelous, unforgettable, and that is the story of Nicholas Winton, Sir Nicholas Winton. It's here on YouTube, and I want folks to, we can, this is just 5 minutes, and it's completely worth it, and it's completely unforgettable. Here we go.
But may become their participants. Some stories which we're not only an audience to, but may become their participants. Nicky's story came out by accident after this scrapbook surfaced after gathering dust for decades. Once it did, though, it said about a whole chain of incredible events.
Okay, the accent's hard to understand. For the translator. Oh, there are subtitles? Oh, yeah, hit them. Good. Yeah. So there was a scrapbook. Yeah, there we go. A scrapbook was found in an attic, and it set off a chain of events.
That's me before I left for England. But until 1988, I had no idea who had rescued me from all but certain death.
I had no idea who rescued me from almost certain death. It was this old man.
It was this old man who had saved my life and that of hundreds of others in the Second World War. Yet for 50 years we knew nothing about him.
4 children. This is his scrapbook. There are all kinds of fascinating pictures in it. Perhaps you can see, this is a picture of Nicholas Winton himself with one of the children he rescued. If you look at the very back of this scrapbook, fascinating things in it, all the letters. But back here is the list of all the children. This is Vera Diamant, now Vera Gissing. We did find her name on his list. Vera Gissing is with us here tonight. Hello, Vera. And I should tell you that you are actually sitting next to Nicholas Winton. Hello.
I wore this around my neck, and this is the actual pass that we were given to come to England. And I'm another of the children that you saved.
Can I ask, is there anyone in our audience tonight who owes their life to Nicholas Winton? If so, could you stand up, please?
Is there anyone in our audience tonight who owes their life to Nicholas Winton? If so, would you please stand up?
Everybody has to learn to live with everybody else, regardless of creed or religion.
I never thought what I did 70 years ago was going to have such a big impact as apparently it has. And if it has now got a story which helps people to live for the future, well, that will be an added bonus.
Nicholas Winton in Czechoslovakia knew that a large number of Jewish children were about to be sent to a concentration camp and certainly would die. He arranged for trains to take them out of Czechoslovakia, and there was only a few countries that would accept refugee children. England was one of them. He rescued 669 children and arranged for all their passports and their papers and transported them safely to England. And this is the moment this is the unforgettable moment that everybody wants to play again So here we are.
Ask, is there anyone in our audience tonight who owes their life to Nicholas Winton? If so, could you stand up, please?
So at the time, this was 1988, Nicholas Winton, I believe I don't know if he passed away recently, I believe, but there was another YouTube video where he was 105, and he was just as sharp and as funny and as humble. Yeah, he passed away in 2015, but there he is. And here's his story. Jewish children leave Prague for Britain. He saved their lives and lived on himself to be 105. 669 children. So talk about a bodhisattva who says, yeah, I can give anything. He can not only give away and renounce, but he can also give something like people's lives to them simply by extending himself when the circumstances require it. He rose to the occasion. He saw what was happening and took the effort to arrange all of you saw the letters that came back and the passports and the keeping track, and those children and now their grandchildren remember. One of the things that happen is you yourself live to a ripe old age when you help others live long. Great story. So, Bodhisattva's generosity. Ami Tofo. All right, let's see here. It's time for me to ask whether or not the Berkeley Buddhist Monastery had anything to talk about, anything to let us know about, any news? Jin Chuan, Jin Wei Shi, what's going on?
Yes, we have a few events coming up.
Oh, great.
So tomorrow morning at 6:30 a.m., we'll have a great compassion mantra dedication of merit. Since the pandemic began, many laity and some monastics have been reciting great compassion mantra on behalf of everyone, you can say, suffering from the pandemic. And so that's been ongoing, and we've been having a monthly dedication of merit. I think it's probably lower on the,
there it is, right
move
there.
it up in the, there it is.
Yeah.
Okay. So tomorrow morning at 6:30 to 7:30 a.m., Great Compassion Mantra dedication of merit. You can join on our Dharma Realm live channel or the regular BBM online Zoom link. And if you want to sign up to also recite the Great Compassion Mantra, there's a link to do that as well. And pretty much we've been, I think, averaging something around 250,000 mantras a month. So quite a lot.
Yeah.
If you go up, the other, I think, important thing to let people know about is we're going to be transmitting the 8 precepts and having an Amitabha recitation session from December 4th to December 6th. So not this weekend, but the following weekend, we'll have a chance to recite the Buddha's name together. This is, I think, a very good time. You can say it's starting to get cold, kind of winter, and so having the warmth of Amitabha Buddha's light and being able to recite with Dharma friends is very precious. So if you have the time, please join in. Same Zoom link and also the YouTube link. And you can, if you would like to, if you participate in any part of the session, even if just one, you can put up 2 memorial plaques. then you can see there's a registration on the bottom there. That way we can have not just ourselves participate, but maybe invite in our hearts those we care about as well. So that's our main upcoming events. Marty was just here yesterday with his sutra lecture class, and he said he'll probably have 2 more classes. So if you want to catch Marty's lectures, then this next Friday and the following Friday will be the time to do it. Okay, that's it.
So how does that work? Jun Chuan-Shi, this is his. He's wrapping up his series, is that right, or what?
He's not wrapping up the Avatamsaka Sutra, but he's going to finish this, you can say, fall semester lecture series of lectures, say, on, let me look at the exact date, December 10th was his plan.
Okay, so the fall semester is coming to an end.
Yeah, but we will continue on in spring with the Avatamsaka Sutra.
Great.
Yep.
Okay, so and you can see this page here. Here's the live stream if you want to watch it on YouTube. Here's the text in the class. This is about Professor Verhoeven.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good. Okay, great. Thank you for that. I have an announcement, which is, let's go to dharmaradio.org, and we have something new, which is Spirit in the Cave of the Heart. This is the newest addition to Good Karma music, which is what? We have 3 songs composed, recorded, and sung by Father Cyprian Concilio, who is a Camaldolese Benedictine Catholic monk. He is also the abbot, he's the prior at New Camaldoli Benedictine Hermitage on Big Sur. You're looking at Father Arthur Poulin's painting. Looks like Aboriginal, art, beautiful pointillist point art. Father Arthur is a world-renowned painter. This is New Camaldoli. This is actually the monastery, right? That's what it looks like from above. And this is the Pacific Ocean. 3 steps, 1 bow, bowed, all along here. This is Big Sur. Anyway, Father Arthur's art is spectacular. So click on Spirit in the Cave of the Heart, and it takes you to Father Cyprian's page. I describe the significance of this Catholic monk offering 3 songs so that anybody who would like these songs on your computer or on your iPod or iPhone, do a good deed. Do a good deed, and we will send you the songs. And Laura Tan in Berkeley put the page together. Father Arthur did the art. Here's Father Cyprian. Jerry was the engineer for all of this. And the songs are just superb. You get a 30-second clip, but that's only the instrumental intro. I want you to hear Father Cyprian's. There we go. Play just a second of his. One of my favorites. Here we go. Forward. Here we go. One of Gandhi's favorite songs. Gandhi. This is a Catholic monk singing a Hindi bhajan with a tabla and a acoustic guitar, and just superb. So anybody who would like to own for your very own these 3 songs from Father Cyprian, go to Good Karma Music, do a good deed, and pick an album of your choice. You can have Paramita, Dharma Radio, Stories for Awakening, or Spirit in the Cave of the Heart. Grant us your peace. The latest one, I stopped a Facebook market seller from selling e-cigarettes by explaining how bad the vaping causes the body. I didn't know the seller. I was ready to accept scolding from him. Luckily, he accepted not to sell and thanked me for explaining. From Santa Clara, no e-cigarette. Yeah, how about that? Okay, that's Good Karma Music. Go to Dharma Radio, click on for your reward, Spirit in the Cave of the Heart by Father Cyprian Concilio. You know what? We haven't done our transference. We have to transfer. Running a little late today. Here we go. Let's see. Medicine Buddha mantra. We have news worldwide of a new variant of the COVID virus. Not happy news. We've got to be more sincere in our reciting of our Medicine Buddha mantra. Please transfer merit far and wide. Samyak Sambuddhaya Tadyata Vasaji Vasaji Vaisadya Samgate Swaha Om Namo Bhagavate Vasaja Aidurya Pravarajaya Tathāgataya Arahate Samyak Sambuddhaya Tadyata Om Vasaji Vasaji Vaisadya Samugate Swaha. Can you do it now? Do it together. Let's all do it together. Ready? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasaya Guru Vaidurya Pravarajaya Tathāgataya Arahate Samyak Sambuddhaya Tadyata Vasaji, Vasaji, Vaisadya, Samgate Swaha. Coronavirus, go away. Make 3 half bows to our teacher. To the and 3 bows to Master Shenhua. Bow in respect to the Venerable Master. Okay, that's going to do it for us for this week. See you all next week for more of the Avatamsaka Sutra. Thanks for joining. Amitofo.